Hi, I'm Dave Boyland from Goldwyn and Boyland Physical Therapy. I'm here in our McGraw office, and we're here with Tim Bennett, the Cortland Voice. We appreciate all they do for us and for the community. We'd like to wish you all a Happy New Year, a blessed New Year. And a little while ago, I did a Facebook Live when I talked about whether pain is really a thing or whether pain is an experience, if any of you saw that. So today I want to take it to another level, and I want to talk a little bit about how pain really is a vector. Okay, so when I'm talking about a vector, what I really mean is it has a direction. Vectors have a direction. And so we have lots of different terms that we use in our everyday language that are directional, that involve vectors. So I can have an up and I can have a down. I can have a back and forth, all right? I can have an in, I can have an out. I can have different terms that are basically the opposite of each other, but they describe a direction. And that's kind of what a vector is all about. So when we're talking about pain as an experience, the question is, if it's not a thing, then it's an energy, it's an experience. If it's an experience or an energy, then it moves, it has to move. If it moves, then it has to be directional. And so oftentimes people will come in and they say, I have this pain, or I have this pain in my back, or I have this pain in my shoulder. And I say, yes, that's where you're experiencing your pain, but the reality is that pain is actually a movement of energy throughout your system between your brain and your other parts of your body and your shoulder, and then your brain makes a determination that that pain is in your shoulder and your back or whatever it is. But it's much more complex than just saying, my pain is right here. Okay, yes, that's when my body perceives it, but the reality is, if it's not a thing, then it has a direction. So what I like to talk to patients about often, and I'd like to kind of bring up today, is the fact that if pain is a direction, then pain can come into me, but if it can come into me, then it also can leave me and go back into the universe, because it's energy. Energy is constantly being exchanged, and we know from the laws of physics that energy can never be created or destroyed. It can only be transferred. So it can come in, it can come out. And so we have developed a pattern in our healthcare system that all pain is in me. That if I'm feeling it, that it's in me. And that's not wrong, that's true. If it's in me somewhere and I'm experiencing it, it's real. Whether it matches an anatomical pattern or matches a particular injury isn't so important. The fact is, if I'm experiencing it inside my body, it's in me. So the question that I ask patients all the time, when pain comes into you, what does it feel like? And they typically will say, well, it feels like pain. That's right. So when pain's leaving you, what must it feel like? And people go, I'm like, no. If it feels like pain entering you, then when it's leaving you, what must it feel like? Or what could it feel like? Well, it could feel like pain. And so there's lots of things that we experience in our everyday life. There's lots of things that we experience in our activities of daily living, where we experience pain, but it actually can be pain leaving my body. And so, those are discussions that we have all the time with patients now, thinking about if it can come in, it can leave. So what does that mean? Okay? What that means is, if I am in an automobile accident and I experience pain, the likelihood that I just experienced a trauma, I experienced something that was dangerous, that was shocking to my body, and it's very likely that the pain has come into me. That's a normal, natural response in that particular situation. Or if someone steps on my foot and I sprain my ankle in a basketball game, yes, the pain's coming into me. But there are lots of times when you could be at rest, in safety, in your very own home, even in your bed, and people will say, I had this pain last night. It came, but then it went away. It didn't last. Well, was that pain leaving my body? The answer is potentially yes. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to actually kind of leave you to think about this for a little while as a possibility, because we all know that we've all experienced the fact that you set out on a trip and you set the GPS for your destination, and the GPS says it's going to take 4 hours to get there. And you drive to that destination where you've never been before, it's unfamiliar to you, and it seems like that 4 hours takes a long time. And yet you turn right around at the end of your visit and you drive back home the same 4 hours, and your nervous system says, wow, that didn't seem to take as long as it did to get there, because it was more familiar. And so the way our nervous system processes pain can be much the same way. That if it's a new experience, if it's something that's scary or potentially dangerous or unfamiliar, then my body will catalog that, and it'll catalog it very seriously because it's a new event. On the other hand, if I've done things before, experienced things before, my body can actually take that pain and it can actually get rid of it very quickly. But we don't often see it that way. So again, I just want you to start to think about the concept that if pain is an experience and not a thing, and if it is an experience and it's energy, then it will have to have a direction. And what can that possibly mean? So what I'd like to do in a future episode is I'd like to give you a few examples of maybe things that you're already experiencing in your everyday life that are examples of pain or energy leaving your body that we actually see as being potentially dangerous or bad. That you can actually start to see how your body heals itself, and that we don't need to intervene necessarily every time we experience a pain, as long as it matches certain patterns. So again, I'd like you to just think about that concept, and I'm looking forward to coming back with Cortland Voice and doing another Facebook Live in the future and discuss some of those conditions and some of those symptoms that may be very familiar to you that you can now start to look at differently.